Okay, it is December 27th, 2022, and I am here with, please say your first and last name.
Portia Mathis.
And would you mind letting us know how to spell that?
My name is Portia, spelled P-O-R-T-I-A. Mathis, M-A-T-H-I-S.
Yes. And then could you explain I know there's some confusion with the spelling of your last name, right? Some people spell it differently.
Well, so the family, most of them spell it E-S, M-A-T-H-E-S.
But you spell it I-S.
But my birth certificate has always had I-S. I never really, it wasn't really brought to our attention until later in life, but I'm not sure why, but mine is I-S, so that's how I went through school.
Okay.
With M-A-T-H-I-S.
And what year, what was your birthday?
April 12th, 1947.
Okay, and then where were you born?
I was born in Camden, New Jersey.
And was it a home birth or at a hospital?
I was born at home.
And can you talk about your parents, their full names, and then just some background about where they're from and that kind of stuff?
Yeah, my father's name's James Mathis. My mother's maiden name was Walden, Annabelle Walden, but she became Annabelle Mathis. And they were both born in Georgia, but different parts of Georgia.
Mm-hmm. Do you know how they met?
I just know my dad used to be around. I don't know the whole story, except they knew each other from when they were younger. But he was 7 years older than my mother. So, when he used to come around, they knew the family. They knew my grandparents, and so he would be around because his father was a preacher. And he just noticed my mom, and he used to adore her as she was a young girl, but she was too young for him. And he just said he was going to wait until she got 18, then he wanted to marry her. He'd wait around because he was 7 years older than her. So they got married when she was 18. He was 25.
And then how many kids did they have?
She birthed 10, but two children died at birth. So we grew up with, it was 9 of us. I grew up with, I had 5 sisters. All together it was 5 sisters and 4 brothers. So I have 4 brothers and 4 sisters, and I made 9.
Mm-hmm. And what were the births like hospitals, home births?
Okay, she only had 2 children born in the hospital. One brother, 1 sister. So that would be, let me see, her 3rd and 4th child were born in the hospital, and the rest of us were. Oh, and then my baby brother was born in the hospital, the youngest brother, and he was premature. He only weighed 1.5 pounds when he was born.
Is that why he was born in the hospital?
Well, no, I'm not sure. I was still kind of young. I don't know what was going on. She was real tiny because sometimes we didn't even know she was pregnant. We knew with that one, but with the 2 that died, really, we didn't even know she was pregnant. Then my sister, she died. The girl died before my youngest brother, and then the boy that died was after the youngest brother. So one died before, and then he was born and he lived, but he was premature. And then she had a boy. So the girl, we didn't know she was pregnant. I didn't. I just remember us waking up one morning and the baby was in the crib. You know, they had a crib, and she was dead, but they were waiting for the undertaker. That's what they called them back then. They used to come to your house, I guess, for everybody. I don't know, but I know for the baby they came to the house. And me and my 2 younger sisters were home that day when they came. You know, first I woke up and we was all looking, you know, and I was kind of little and I was standing, you know how the crib has those the sticks, you know, whatever. Mm-hmm. And I could see through and I could see her, you know, she was real cute and everything. And they were all standing looking, and I just remember them saying, "Oh, she looks just like Portia." I remember that. And then she had jet black hair, you know, she was real cute. And then me and my 2 younger sisters were home that day, so the rest of them probably had went to school. And I remember the undertaker was a woman undertaker came, and it brought it looked like a little black suitcase, and she went upstairs and got the baby and took her out. Said, I remember that. I could still see that, you know. We were looking at the window as she was pulling up to pick up the baby.
Do you know about how old you were?
So, let me see. I'll say I was, 7. I could have been 10. I'm not sure. I don't remember my age, but might not have been 10, but I'm just going to guess 10. I guess I'm saying 10 because my brother was, I'm 7 years older than the brother that lived. And he wasn't born yet. She was before him. So I don't know, you know,
Yeah.
So if I was 7, then Bert was 8 and Rosie was, if I was 10, Bert would have been 8 and Rosie would have been 7.
Could you explain the birth order and the ages of your siblings? At least the ones that are living, unless you remember all of them.
Okay, I don't remember. My oldest brother, he was born, and I can't remember the ages for sure, but I'm going to guess 1933. I don't know. Anyway, he died. My brother, he died when he was 60s, middle 60s. He passed away. He was sick, and he has, you know. Then I think it was a year later, was when my other brother died. Between 1 or 2 years later, he passed away. Both of them died in their 60s, you know, middle 60s, right? And then my brother Alan, he died in 2022 in February, and he was 78. He was 78, almost 79. So the 3 brothers, my 3 oldest, my voice is all messed up.
Okay.
The first 3 passed away right as their age, the oldest, and then the next, all 3 of my brothers. So now there's 5 girls. Margot, 75. Margot, 78. Mary, 77. And I'm 75.
Okay.
And then my sister Burke, she's 73. And Rosie, 72.
Wow.
And Terry's like 69. 68. Terry's 68.
And can you describe what your childhood was like growing up in the house, what kind of meals they cooked, anything like, you know, if a parent had a garden or what a parent did for work, just kind of details like that.
Okay, we grew up as a loving family. All the siblings, we got along beautiful with our parents. So we had the best mom and dad you could ask for. Mm. And my dad provided for us perfectly. He worked 2 jobs and sometimes 3 to make sure we had everything. My mom spoiled us. They spoiled all 9 of us. And we had more, like, okay, they said they both, my mom worked in the house, you could say, because she did, like she would iron for people, you know, like the well-off rich people that lived in like Haddonfield, New Jersey. That was like mostly where doctors and lawyers and, you know, and she did ironing. They would bring the clothes to her and she would iron them and, you know, then they come pick them up. So she got paid to do that. And that was how she had extra money besides what he had, you know, money for us to buy us what we wanted and give us our lunch money and stuff like that. And we were spoiled. I was like in high school still getting my clothes ironed. For school, I wake up and she learned how to sew too. And she would make me a skirt overnight. You know, I might wake up and there's a pretty skirt that she made overnight. And we had good meals. We ate good. The street we lived on was like a family. It was like a family. And we was 9 of us, and a couple more people had big families too, like us, even bigger than us, really, like 11, you know, children or more. But they did good too, and their parents both worked that I could think of. Well, one, you know, but anyway, we had the most, seemed like more. If my aunt had 4 children, and in Christmas, we had beautiful Christmases. My dad decorated the house and the tree, beautiful tree with pretty bulbs on it. And we had a train track going around the tree. Everybody would come to our house on Christmas. They would get up and look at their stuff and then leave and come see what we got. Because we always had everything we asked for, plus all the food you wanted and all the fruit and pies and cakes and everything. They would stay down our house all day playing with us and playing with our toys and stuff. And my brothers got like a pool table one year, and we got everything we wanted and didn't need, you know, and clothes too. Like you went to church on Easter, and on Easter you used to have to say, they had a program, and they used to call it a piece. You said you had a piece that you had to memorize and recite it that evening. So in the morning we wore, like the girls, a pretty dress to church, and then you went back the evening for this program, and we had another dress. You know, we just was spoiled, and everybody got along, you know, good. We had little fights, you know, the sisters, but you know, it didn't last long. And then nobody else but our father, you know, outside of the family. And my grandma lived directly across the street from us. My mom's mom, she lived directly across the street, and she would be looking at the window all the time. And if you did something, she would see you, you know, and call you over there. And you know, and this part you had if you did something bad, you had to go out in the yard and get a switch, and pick a switch off the tree and bring it back to her. She'd be sitting in the chair, and you had to hold your hands out like this, and she'd hit. You know, you'd get a couple hits on your hand, and then you go stand in the corner, you know, for a few minutes. I guess you had to think about what you did. But if the switch wasn't to her satisfaction, you had to go back and get a better one, because you might try to pick one that don't look like it's going to hurt that much. You had to say you might as well get a good one in the first time, because if it wasn't, you was going to go back and get one. But she was a sweet lady, and she was sickly, you know, because she had 9 children, you know, and she had like grew up, and then she had ended up having one kidney, you know, one, you know, she was sickly. She never really went out except, you know, but all her children was close to her. Her sons, they would come around and take good care of her, you know. Everybody took care of her, you know, all her children. All of them lived close except my youngest aunt lived in Boston, but everybody else lived in Camden, and, you know, and close by. And then when they got older, they might have moved, but not that far, a couple cities over, you know. But everybody, we did our homework. We had our chores to do. And we did, that. And my mom had 5 girls. She had to comb hair for 5 girls every morning for school. I remember that, and you wonder how could she do it? How did you have all this strength? She was little. She was like 4 feet 11 and wore like a size 5 shoe. She was tiny. She was a strong woman, and you better not mess with her children. Nobody, her sisters or the teachers or nobody, or anybody in the neighborhood, she'd get on. Like, yeah, she would let you correct. We could get corrected though, because when we grew up, your neighbors corrected you too if you did something wrong. They would straighten you out and then tell your parent, and then your parent would get you, punish you for it after. The neighbor, they could send you home if they saw you out of line, or and then your parent, But it grew, we just grew up. Even in school, the whole neighborhood, you knew from different streets, you knew that person on the street over in school. Like when you went to school back then, you knew, just about everybody. Like when, because like now when you go to school, you don't know everybody, you just know whoever your friends are. But we knew everybody, everybody and their mother and everything. It was like a family. I don't know. Ask me something else.
How old were you when you got married?
Too young. I was 18.
When did you meet him?
When I was 15.
And did you guys date that whole time? What was that like?
Well, he was real handsome. Real handsome. So, when we met, I was still in school. He was 4 years older than me. So, I wasn't 16. Yeah, I was 15. I was in the 10th grade. So how old was I? Like 15, I think. So he was 19. And he was working. He had finished school. He graduated from Camden High School. He moved from Ohio to New Jersey because his mother lived in Ohio and his dad lived in New Jersey. So he came, when he was in 12th grade, he came to New Jersey and lived with his dad. And he went to Camden High School and he graduated from there. And I went to Woodrow Wilson. I was in the 10th grade when I had met. So I always remember that part, that he was real, real handsome. And he worked at a store at the mall called John Wanamaker's where they sold men's suits and stuff. So he had to wear a suit to work, and he was just handsome, fine. And then one day, when he started dating me, and then when we first started dating, one day I came out of school, and it was like a campus, and so it was all these girls all in a circle, all excited about something, and I'm coming out, and I'm like, well, in my mind, wondering what are they so excited about? What are they looking at? And as I got up closer, then I looked, and there it was him. That's who they were looking at. All the girls was pointing and looking, and wonder who's this guy, and then all of a sudden he saw me, and he came and got me, walked and met me, and then because he was coming to pick me up from school, but then I felt good that day because everybody was like, wonder who's this guy, and then all the time he was coming to get me, I was like, whatever. So it was just funny, to me, and to think back at that part. And he could sing, and he used to play a guitar, and he would sing me songs and stuff.
What did he do for a living?
Well, he was he was a salesman at John Wanamaker's, and then later on he worked at the Chrysler Corporation and Ford, the cars, and he was smart, real smart.
Did he travel?
Not really. Back then, I traveled later in life, but not then. Back then we didn't travel.
And what was your marriage like? And then when did you
Oh,
start having
God.
children?
I really don't want to talk about
That's
that.
okay. Do you want to talk about when you started having children?
The marriage was okay at first, but it wasn't great, because,
Yeah.
I probably shouldn't have got married, but I wanted to get married, though, because even though that was back then, a lot of girls, they wanted to get married young, and they wanted to have kids, they wanted to leave the house. So that's what I wanted to do. I had said I said I want to have a child it was all wrong, to think that way, but I learned later, all I wanted to do was have a child and get married, have a child and leave the house and be on my own or whatever. So yeah, I got married, but he was he used to cheat and stuff with women and stuff. So it wasn't so great. I don't.
And then what was it like when you had your first child? What was it like to become a mom?
It was nice. I was, fascinated with the baby, and I used to sit and count her fingers and toes like I couldn't believe it. And she was so cute and just bubbly, full of, smiles and stuff for everybody. Everybody fell in love with her. She is the cutest little thing.
When was she born, and can you tell us her name?
And Tanya, Janine Hines. She weighed when she was born, she weighed 5 pounds and 3 ounces, and then they lose weight, so she went down to, no, she weighed 5'1". She was small because she was born 1 month ahead. She was born at 8 months instead of 9. She weighed 5'1", and then she went down to 4'11" in the hospital, so we stayed longer than you. She had to stay longer. When it was time for me to come home, they had to keep her a little bit longer because they wasn't going to let her come home till she was 5'3". So, she stayed in the hospital for like 2 weeks after I came home, but I would go see her. They would let me come up there, and I had to put on the garb and the mask and all, go, and I could feed her and everything, and when I would go up to see her, it would be people, other people coming to see their family, and they would be all pointing at her, talking about that pretty baby, that pretty baby. Everybody was standing there looking at her and stuff, and she is so always smiling, real cute.
How did you learn how to become a mom?
Well, mainly from watching other people, like my mom, and watching other people on our street with children, and in school. I learned it in junior high school. They taught us that. We had a class called home economics, and they taught you how to cook. That one semester you learned how to cook in that class. Then you had to. It was child care was when he taught you how to take care of a baby, change the baby, feed the baby, and all that. We had cooking, child care. We had the health. It was really broken into 4 parts. You had gym, one part was gym, and then you had cooking. You had cooking, and you had home economics, and you had health. Teach you like how to take care of your body and stuff. So you took on the
During pregnancy?
Yeah, and the guys, they had like shop. They taught them how to work on cars and stuff. Do stuff like that. Mechanics. Just to know things if your car broke down. But that wasn't their majors. That's what you took. And you didn't really have a majors until you got to high school. High school, because this is junior high when we did this. And then high school, you had either clerical or business, business clerical, or college preparatory if you wanted to go to college, taking classes for college.
And then what year did you have your second daughter? And can you tell us about her?
So Tanya was born in 1966, and then I had another daughter, and she was born in 69. Her name was Shauna Deneen. And Shauna was, okay, I had Tanya. I wanted a girl, and Tanya came. Well, really, I'm saying Tanya and Tanya, because her name was really Tanya, but somehow we ended up calling her Tanya, and she doesn't forgive me for that until today. Because she said, you should have made sure it was Tanya, you know, but I don't know. Anyway, Tanya, tomato, tomato, potato, whatever. But Shauna came. Well, I wanted a girl when I was pregnant. The first time I was praying that it was a girl, and it was a girl. So then when I had the second one, I wanted it to be a boy, and I was just knew I was going to have a boy. And I had two nieces and one nephew that were older than my daughter, older than Tanya. So when I was carrying the second child, they were real close with me. My nephews, you know, Corky, Mommy, and Pebbles. They would come with me, you know, come visit me, come be with me all the time. So I had put it in their head that it's a boy. And I would say to them, and I had the name picked out. His name was going to be Troy Lamont. So I would say he this and he that, and when he's born, he's gonna do this. We're gonna do. So anyway, when I had the baby, it ended up being a girl. So I remember being in the hospital, and I could hear them talking after she was born, and I could hear it once she came out. Back then, the dad wasn't allowed in the room like they are now. They have to wait into the waiting room. But anyway, I could hear them saying, "Oh, it's a boy." And I remember them saying, "Oh, it's a girl." The nurses, and they said, and so then one of them said, "She already has a girl. She wanted a boy, you know, but it's a girl, but she wanted a boy." So I knew it was a girl. I could hear them, you know. I was probably just waking up from the anesthesia, so they brought her over. I'm laying down, you know, and still in the labor room. I wasn't in the recovery room yet. And I remember one of the nurses holding her up, you know, saying, here it is, here's your baby, it's a girl. And I was disappointed. I said, mm-hmm. I remember saying, mm-hmm. I was like, I didn't even want to see her because I wanted a boy. So anyway, later on that day, after you get, you know, hours go by and when you well enough to, you know, see the baby, they brought her to me. So they brought her to me and they put her in my arms. So I was kind of disappointed though at first because I wanted a boy. So anyway, I'm holding her and everything, and I'm looking and I'm trying to say I love you, but I wanted a boy. Why couldn't you be a boy? And it seemed like when they put her in, when I held her, every time they give her to me, I would get pains in my stomach, like cramps, for some reason, when I'm holding her. But then when they come take her back, they would go away. But anyway, I wanted a boy. But here come this girl. And this girl didn't even have a lot of hair or nothing. The girl, you know, because look, Tanya was real hairy. She had so much hair, even on her arms and stuff was hairy. And then here's Shauna coming out with hardly any hair. And back then, it went by, and they used to say if you have a lot of heartburn, your baby going to have a lot of hair. So when I was carrying Tanya, yeah, I had heartburn all the time, real bad, real bad. And she came out with a hair full of hair and everything. And hairy looking fuzz on the arms. And then here comes Shauna. And I didn't have no heartburn, but one day for a couple seconds I had heartburn. And that's how much hair she had, you know. Because I'm saying probably because you maybe wanted to be a boy, so you don't have all the hair. I don't know if boys have hair too, but anyway. So they brought, I'll take a sip of water.
Okay.
So.
Take your time. So then when you're ready, if you want to take your time, when you're ready, if you want to talk about when you decided to, when you guys decided to break your marriage off.
So let me just get this real quick part
in,
because
please.
It was key to me. So, because I'm boy, right? So then when she was born, and then when I brought her home, well, first I had to stay with my mom and dad because we lived far away. There wasn't no hospital in Williamstown where I was living at the time, Williamstown, New Jersey. It was about 25 minutes away, and it wasn't a hospital yet. All the hospitals were in Camden, like Cooper Hospital, West Jersey Hospital, Our Lady of Lourdes. So I had to come to Camden when it was close, so when it's time, I would just go up the street to the hospital. So anyway, when we brought her home that day, it was on a Sunday, we brought her to my mom and dad's house. And so Tanya, I'm saying Tanya, she came, so everybody was gathered around. They laid her on the sofa, she was laying on the sofa, and just coming from the hospital, and everybody's standing there looking at her and everything. So here's Tanya coming into the room. And she couldn't wait for the baby either, but then once she seen the baby and saw all the attention that the baby was getting, she stood there. And she was real cute, Tanya, hair all down her back. What's wrong?
Keep going.
And she said, I don't like that baby. Take that baby back. And ran up the stairs, Anyway, later on that day, she got over it, and she was bringing the neighbors down the street, 3 little kids down the street. She brought them in, and the baby was upstairs laying in the cradle. She had a pretty white cradle, showing that she was laying in her little cradle that rocked and all. And so she said, here comes, and I'm in the room with the baby, and here comes Tanya with these 3 little kids, shh, telling them, you could look at him, because I was saying boy, I told him a boy, you can look at him, but don't touch him. That's her talking to the little kids. You can look at him, but don't touch him, So they go over and there's peeping at the baby, And then my nephews and nieces, Aunt Port, he's crying, want me to get his bottle. For about a few weeks, they were in the habit of saying he and him, because I had strained it in their head so much that it's going to be a boy. It was funny. So anyway, I could just picture all of that, and it was fun. And so anyway, one more thing before I finish this little segment. And my dad called Tanya Queenie. His nickname for Tanya was Queenie, because she was so cute. And then Shauna, she was cute, but she wasn't cute like that. And I didn't think she was cute to me. I was just looking at this little yellow face, little light-skinned baby with puffy eyes. And my brother said her eyes is puffy because me and him used to stay up all night playing cards near the end, all night long playing 500 rummy. So he said that's because you was staying up all night playing cards. Her eyes was puffy to everything. But to me, she wasn't cute. She was okay, but she wasn't cute. Plus, it wasn't my boy. But like my sister Rosie said, I always thought she was cute, but whatever. Anyway, as she was getting older, she started getting cute. And her hair started growing because she was, she didn't have much hair, and it started getting long. So anyway, my dad, he would look at her sometime and he would say to me, she's cute, but can nobody be Queenie? Talking about time, she's cute, but can nobody be Queenie? Meaning can't nobody top her, right? So anyway, as she was getting older now, she's starting to get features and her hair is growing and she's getting pretty now. And he was looking one day, he said, I don't know, I think I'm gonna have to take that back. What he said, So that was funny, because then she ended up being so pretty, but first, I'm like, first of all, I didn't want a girl now, and she ain't even cute or nothing, like, she ain't cute, like, looking like Tanya, she all yellow and everything. It was funny, but then anyway, she ended up being beautiful, pretty, pretty eyes and everything. And a tomboy too. Her nickname was Wild Bill. They nicknamed her because she was a little tomboy, and so cute and rough. If you come to the stroller and looking, oh, let me see the baby, because when we had glass bottles back then, you didn't have plastic, and she'd take the bottle and conk them in the head. When they bend down and look at her, boom. She was funny. Wild Bill. But now, what else?
Oh, what about about what year did you guys decide to not be married anymore? And then what was that like readjusting to life in a new way?
Well, It was off and on and off and on. Go back together, break up, go back together, break up. You know, like that's how it was for years. And then I guess, so you could say when I finally decided that I thought that the breakup for sure, for good, would have been like, let's say, maybe when she was, let me think, because see, in that whole time we broke up, then we kept trying to make it work, We even moved to Ohio, you know, and so when we moved to Ohio, Tanya was 8 years old, and Shauna was 5, because Shauna was in kindergarten and Tanya was in the 3rd grade. We moved to Ohio for a while, you know. But it just wasn't working. It wasn't, you know, I don't feel like talking about all that.
That's okay.
You know, it wasn't working. So that was, I guess you could say that was really the time when it was like really like this not working. And what year would that be? Let me see, like 74. Because we got married at 65. Let's say 74. I guess you could say, I think it was around 1974. And
What did you do for a living?
I had different jobs, you know. My last, you know, up until my last job was at the pharmaceutical. But before, you know, like when I just had Tanya, I worked at a cleaners where you know people bring the clothes, and I remember like because that's the year Martin Luther King got assassinated. Mm-hmm. I remember that. That's where I was working. That's when I found out.
What was that like? What was that feeling like?
It was first feeling was happening when President Kennedy. I was in high school then, and they announced it over the intercom, and it, you know, it's a feeling like it's your family. You know, that's the kind of feeling. It's a hurt feeling, like a lost feeling. Because, you know, that's how it felt, you know, like a shock and everything. So that's how I felt with, you know. But my last job before I retired was at, it was a pharmaceutical in Cherry Hill, New Jersey. Like maybe 20 minutes from where I lived, back in the car, you know.
What was it like being alive during the civil rights, the fight for civil rights?
I was too young.
You were too young? What can you remember about it, though, about that time? Like, do you remember seeing whites-only signs or blacks-only signs and stuff like that? And so by the time that you had, like, consciousness to be able to be aware of your surroundings...
I didn't see none of that. And if it was still going on, probably, but it was more down south, even, you know, Virginia and all. Down that way in the south, because I didn't get that. I didn't see that, even if, you know, I didn't see the signs like that back then. But when I went to like when I went to Woodrow Wilson, when I went in 10th grade, it was more white than black. Like I might be the only black person in my class.
Do you know about what year this was?
Yeah, let me think, 1960. And it was okay because we got along good, the whites and the blacks, you know.
Do you think that you being more fair-skinned had anything to do with not experiencing too much like blatant racism?
Well, I can't even say because my friends that were darker skinned, I can't remember them going through anything. If they did, I don't remember. I don't know. But like my cousin, my first cousin, me and her were real close. That was, you know, I only had 2 or 3 real close cousins. I was close to all of them, but like we hung around. And she was dark-skinned, but beautiful, dark-skinned, pretty, beautiful, long hair. And she was the only dark. Well, she had 4 brothers, and it was her and 2 brothers were darker, but they weren't as dark as her. The other 2 brothers was like my complexion, but 2 of them, 2 brothers was were darker, but not as dark as her, and then 2 were lighter skinned. But she was like a dark skinned girl. But she had plenty of friends. That's what I'm trying to say. White. Mostly all her friends were white, and that's how I maybe hung with some of them, because me and her were like that. And like her first baby was by he was Italian guy, and then she married a white man. And I mean, and I don't remember things in school. Maybe when my brothers went, maybe when they went to Wilson, could have been things more, when they went there. When I was like in grammar school, they was in Woodrow Wilson.
Did that experience change in Ohio at all, or was it the same?
Well, for us, it was okay. I never really ever gotten to where I could, hear nobody call me stuff or say nothing. I never experienced it. I seen it around some of it, but even in Ohio, when we were there, the kids, they went to school there for a while, and they played with the kids. So I can't really say if my parents would know more. They experienced it more than me.
What kind of things did they tell you about?
They didn't tell me, but because I'm just guessing that especially my dad, because he was out there more in the workplace and everything. He probably did.
And they just didn't really talk about it. You guys didn't really talk about it at home or anything like that? Okay. So when did you decide to move from, you were back in New Jersey when you decided to move to Las Vegas, right? So what was that process like of moving to Las Vegas?
Because mainly I came out here because my children, because I was retiring, and I said I moved here because I knew that my grandchildren were here, and my children, and my sister. So I said I'm gonna go to Las Vegas, so I could be closer to the grandchildren and be there to help my daughters if they wanted to do something, that they could go to school or whatever they want to do. I'll be there to watch their kids, And that's the main reason I came to Las Vegas, to be closer to the family, and let them be able to do what they had to do.
Like go to school and be able to work and different things like that. Do you ever miss being back in New Jersey?
No. I like going back and visiting, but I never regretted that I moved or nothing like that. And if I did, I would have just went back. I could always go back, And so I just go back and visit. But and I won't say I could never live there again. I could, but not in Camden, where I was from, because it's nothing like it was. Nothing like it was when I was coming up. So I wouldn't live in Camden, but when I go there, I visit and I stay there sometimes, because two of my sisters live there, but they okay where they at. They live in safe places. Their homes, but the Camden's not safe.
What was it like watching it change from how it was like when you were a child to how it is now?
Depressing.
Why?
Even now you get depressed when you go, because you look at how it used to be into how it is now, and you can't believe it. We grew up, it was so nice, and you could leave your doors unlocked if you wanted to all night long, and didn't even feel like nothing would happen, and it didn't. It would be hot out, and people left their doors unlocked, and we used to go in each other's houses, but you would knock and all. But we was like on my street, I'm talking about, it was like a family. The ones that weren't family, we still friends until today. Like 60 plus, 70 plus years, and some of us are still close. We keep in touch. But the streets everything's just torn down. It was beautiful homes. They all run down, and the drug drugs took over, and it just looks so different. And most people moved out of Camden, and then the ones that live there don't go out, that much. Then when they go out, they don't do things in Camden. They go outside of Camden, but they don't do much of anything. Now, they go to church in Camden. The ones that live there, they make, they manage it. The older ones like us. But you scared of the other ones. When you go out, you scared to look at anybody sometimes because,
What was your family's relationship with church like?
It was a big, the street that I lived on, the church was on our street. Down at the end was a church, and it was a smaller church, and they built later on, they built the larger one, but it was family. All my family went to that church. And then the ones that weren't family, everybody was like family. So they still there until today, except most of them have died now. But, the older, but it's the family church. All my aunts and uncles went there. And my grandmama, my mom and dad, we grew up in there. We had to go to church when we were young. We had to go to church and Sunday school. You had to go to Sunday school, but we used to have fun. And we used to take our money and buy candy. It was a corner. It was the store before you get to the church. Here's the street with the houses, and then here's the store, and it's like a little alley. Then there's the church, and them lady, the store, they knew everybody. The lady, she had a son. They were Jews, but she had a son, and he went to school with my brothers, and they played ball together and stuff, And so they gave you money for church to put. It was a plate that they passed around, and you just put a couple pennies in the plate, and then when you go around, you put a quarter. Back then, we put a quarter on the table, the kids. But we used to spend our quarter in the store and put the 2 pennies in the church. But I'm saying the lady probably knew, but she let us do it. The lady, she let us give her the money, she ain't tell her parents. But the church was fun, and Sunday school, and then you went on a church picnic every summer, and that was fun. And then we used to go swimming at a place called Parvin State Park. We used to go swimming there, and we just had fun growing up with our brothers and sisters and our cousins. We had a large family, because my cousins. My aunt, like 2 of them had 7 children, then 1 of them had 4. All first cousins, they're still close until today, close today.
Could you tell me a little bit more about some of the important historical events and figures throughout your life? Like you mentioned Dr. King. What about, do you remember the assassination of Malcolm X, or what it was like when Obama became president?
The thing I remember the most is Obama, because of Malcolm X. I don't remember that much when he, I don't, but I was probably busy doing other stuff and not paying attention. I don't remember I don't know a lot about Malcolm X's part, about when he got assassinated. And, but... Are
there other figures from that time that stood out to you more, like Angela Davis and things like that, or not so much?
That's when the Black Power.
Yeah. What was that like, being around during that time?
Everybody, just walking around proud, saying loud, I'm black and I'm proud, and wearing the dashikis and the afros and, the Black Power. It was like something that you felt proud about, because you were proud to be black, and the afros, and who got the biggest afro. It was exciting to watch, and the clothes and stuff back then. And we had people from Camden. I don't remember or know all of them, but some people, were famous, like the boxer, Jersey Joe Walcott. That was a boxer, real famous, but he him and his family grew up in our neighborhood. They made a statue. They put a statue of him up. I guess it could have been last year or a year before in New Jersey, in an area that's pretty nice. That's built up downtown. Like if we ever go back again, I'll go back and see that statue. But he was a great boxer, a heavyweight, and he's popular. And he grew up right in our neighborhood, and we went to school with his children. And then we have one of the Supremes, Sydney Bird song. She was from Camden, and she sang with the Supremes. And then we had Lola Falana, and she's from Camden, and who else? The girl from Different Strokes. Different World. The black girl, I forgot her name, but she, we had, and there's more, but I don't know all of them. A lot of stuff I don't remember. I can't remember it now.
So tell me more about what it was like seeing Obama start running for president and then become president.
Oh, that felt real good. And I was real proud of him, just proud of him for running to be president. Because back, as I was coming up, you just figure in your mind that there's gonna never be a black president. Never, you never could imagine it, that it's gonna be one. That's out of the question. And so then once it happened, when he ran like that and started campaigning, it was exciting, and I was proud of him, of for who he was and everything and all he done, and just proud that he took the initiative to run. That was a proud moment. And to watch my grandchildren, they were excited about it, and they was working out there campaigning on the campaign field and everything, and they remember it all. And it was just excitement for the world, and all the kids, even the younger ones, they know Obama. My great grands, they know who that president is. They know President Obama. It just was exciting. The black family, Michelle and the girls, and they, that was exciting, and we was proud. That was a proud moment, and it was even a proud moment to wake up that day knowing that he was the president. It was a good feeling. And the night before, waiting to see who won, and my grandchildren were excited too. Waiting to, that was, and I was wishing my brothers were here to see it. The two brothers that had passed, and my parents too, but especially my brothers, because my parents were long gone, especially my mom, so my brothers not too long had passed, like a couple of years before this happened. And it's funny though, because the whole time he was out there, Obama, in my mind, I was seeing my two brothers. In my mind, that was them inside of him, because the wearing the suit and the speaking and everything, it reminded me of my oldest brother Jimmy, and then Willie, but both of them, because Willie, Jimmy was the politician, and he was the smart, he accomplished a lot, as he was coming up, the president of this and the president of that, and he was superintendent of schools, presidents of the school. He did a lot, but Willie was smart too. And Willie, he was he had the brains. And I don't know, I could just see both of them in Obama for some reason. And even the way Obama walked sometimes remind me of Willie. It was funny though. In my mind, I was seeing them inside of him. But I just used to wish that they were here, just to witness it. But sometimes in my mind, I feel like they seen it in my mind.
Yeah. What were some of the most proud and joyful moments of your life?
Well, first one, becoming a mother, then becoming a grandmother, and then
great grandmother,
and the president. That's about, it could be a lot more, but they were the proudest ones. I can't even say marriage or getting married or wedding because, maybe at the time it was good, but, I can't. The proudest ones is to do with family. Like I said, my children, then my grandchildren, and the great-grands. Just to make, because I'm just a simple person. I don't, I don't ask for a lot or look for a lot. I just like happiness, and I like seeing people happy, and I like love, But I don't look out for the bigger things, But I did do things. I traveled and all that a little bit, and I'm happy for that I did that, and blessed that I did that. I feel blessed that I did see some, things go places, and I enjoy life like that too.
How do you define love?
I ain't finished with that part yet. I was still talking about the children and stuff, and like the happiest, proudest parts is the family, and and my grandchildren. I'm happy to see how they stepped out there, and I just prayed for them and prayed for their health and well-being and success. And then my Angelica, I'm so proud of her. And, when I seen her get her diploma, because I seen it even though I wasn't there, and then see her further in her career, and that's real good for me. And I just pray I be here long enough to see her, complete with, mostly what she wants in life. I'm not gonna see it all, but I just want to see some of it, more for her to know that all the work she put in. I want to see the flourishment of it. And I just, feel good to be here all this time. These years, I've been here 75 years, but it's some that's been here longer than me. And so I can only imagine how they feel, because I know how I feel at 75. So now when I look at the 90 and the 95, wow, you really seen stuff and experienced stuff. And, especially when you well enough to talk and know and be in your right sane mind, and can appreciate everything. That's like amazing and a wonderful feeling, to be a blessed feeling. Like I feel blessed, like my mom, she passed away when she was in her 50s, middle 50s, and she didn't get to see all. She got to see all but one grandchild, but no great. Well, she saw. No, I mean, no. I meant to say all her. Wait a minute. I meant to say all her children's children she got to see, except for my my oldest brother Jimmy. She never saw his child. She was gone before he had a child. She used to want him to have it, get married and have a baby. I want to see one of you. I want you to give me a grandchild, But then she never got to see his. And she never got to see no great-grands and all that. I got to see them. I got Lovely have 6, and Chaz has 3, so that's 9 great-grands. I got to, live and enjoy 9 great-grandchildren. Well, 8 of them, a mere. But anyway, it's just amazing.
Can I ask you a question?
Yeah.
So looking back not only over your life, but over the 75 years of life that you have experienced, what are some of the main suggestions that you have for younger people and for future generations on what's most important to focus on in life for themselves?
I guess I could say, to try to make less mistakes to try and, think before you do something. Think it out. Think first. Don't just jump out there and without weighing the pros and cons. Like don't be so fast. Like you, like me, for instance. Like like maybe you can't tell that. You never know. Like you want to pick the right mate, and because everybody's dream, mostly every woman's dream is to have a happy family, have a child, grow up with a husband and children, and live to enjoy your husband and your children, then your grandchildren, but like a family. But a lot of families didn't get to do that. They didn't get to do that. So, the ones that did, that's a blessing, So it's just, you just got to take care of yourself, take care of your life. And the biggest thing of all is you got to put God first and put God before anything, and know that God, that he's there and he loves you, and you got to talk to him and wait on him. Listen for him for answers, because like he will tell you, and he is telling you, but sometimes you be so busy jumping ahead that you don't even take time to focus on it, because he wants us all to have a good life and enjoy life, but we do things too fast and mess it up for ourselves, and then sometimes you can't take it back, But you could always still go forward, but it might not be what you wanted or what you really expected, but you could still make, it's still not the end,
And then is there anything else that you just want to have at the end to be your last statement for future generations, or that you would just said about your life, or anything like that you want to share with us? Take your time.
About my life, I just mainly it's really just my family, my children and my grandchildren and my great-grandchildren. That's all I'm really worried about, them knowing. I just hope that they know that I love them, how much I love them and care for them, and hope the best for them. I'm good with myself, I'm not, my life didn't turn out the way I wanted it to, but it turned out the way it did, and I'm accepting that as being okay for me. That's it, how it was. I made mistakes, but it's still not bad, because I just mainly love my family. I'm proud of them, and I love them, and I want to see them do good, and I just, hope that they, realize that realize that they got to put God first, and that they could do anything that they wanted to, if they try to do it and focus on it and really want to do it, that they can, because it's possible. Everything's possible, as long as you put God in it, and don't be too fast, Don't think it's God when it's not.
How can you know?
That's what I mean. You gotta see, if you really focus on God and really, really, really focus on him and put him first and put him in your heart and really want it, then you'll know, because but if you for you'll know the feeling. You'll know it's a certain feeling that you get, and you'll know it's God. But sometimes when you're too fast, you thinking it's God, but it ain't. But that's because you didn't really take the right time, because you just saw what you saw right there. in front of you, you saw what you wanted, and you thought it was God. But you gotta like dig in there. You can't just. It's hard, especially when you don't really listen to him. You know, you gotta listen to him. But sometimes you be so busy wanting what you want that you ain't really listening. You know.
Okay. Thank you very much. Thanks so much for doing that. All right, I got it. I don't know why it won't let me listen at this moment, but I know I got it.